Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, today we are going to do episode 2 of our coverage of Land of Eam. And this episode will be quite a bit shorter than the last episode. The last episode was pretty long, but I had a lot to say. There's a lot to look at for this game. And in this episode, we are going to be focusing on character creation. I'm going to make one main character and then talk a little bit about how I will use a second character as kind of a utility character for solo play. We'll talk also a little bit about how I would approach the Land of Eam as a solo player, because the Land of Eam does not contain any custom solo rules. So if you want to play this as a solo game, you will have to bring some additional things to it. But I think there is enough here to make that a pretty easy prospect. I did want to mention one thing first, and that is this additional book of encounters. Now this is a PDF that you can buy. It was included in the all-in pledge. I did not purchase the encounter book, the Book of Encounters, but Exalted Funeral did send me a copy. And this can actually be purchased on DriveThruRPG for $10. And for the solo player, I think that money is very, very well spent, because this is an awesome, awesome book of random encounters. So what I think I'm going to do is print this out again on some higher quality paper and then have it spiral or comb bound at like a Kinko's or a FedEx. I don't know, is Kinko's even around anymore? Did I just really date myself? I will have it spiral bound somewhere. I think Office Depot does that for like 12 bucks or something. But if you remember, in the my last video, we talked a little bit about how travel works. And when you travel, you will do a travel test. And depending on the result of that test, you will have certain kinds of encounters. So if you roll low, you will have a very perilous encounter. You can have a dangerous encounter, a bump in the road, an uneventful journey, or a really cool thing, a discovery. And this encounter book contains a whole mess of different encounters for those different categories. Now, the core rulebook does contain, I think it's a D20 chart for each of those, but this greatly expands each of those charts to a D100. And this book, it's organized by the different regions. So we have Drippy Downs, Fleabag County, Quagmash, River Country, the Scallywag Strand, and the Used to Be Forest. And each one of those has a D100 chart for perilous encounters, dangerous encounters, and discoveries. I guess the uneventful travel, just nothing interesting happens. So if you were traveling through Drippy Downs and you had a perilous encounter, you would roll on this D100 chart. Let's do an example for each here. Let me grab my D100. So you had a pretty, you kind of failed on your travel test, and let's see what happened. So a 26. Okay, a 26. A lonely dweorg named Udra lumbers down the road and collapses at the PC's feet with an arrow in her back. She is alive, but bandits are not far behind. Okay, so that could be a little encounter there. Maybe this dweorg has escaped from the bandits. They are trying to track them down, and you need to confront the bandits in order to help that dweorg. Of course, that could lead to a whole new kind of side quest. I don't know what a dweorg is, but it is in this kind of yellow bolded. I don't know if that is a creature. I would have to find out. Maybe that's a kin, but you could look that up after you have rolled that encounter. So we have a D100 chart for all of our perilous encounters, and then we have our dangerous encounters, and 58. So dangerous encounters aren't quite as deadly as the perilous encounters, but a 58 is: a flock of hungry krauls emerge from the ground and attempt to drag the PCs into holes, pocking the surrounded area. the surrounding area. So that could, you know, if you failed at escaping those kraals, you could be pulled down into a subterranean dungeon or something. And then if you rolled really good, you could find something cool like a discovery, and that would be 63. And so let me find 63 here. 63 says that a babbling brook leads to a gathering of fairies who politely invite the PCs to sit and talk. They discuss local rumors from all over the land of Eam and would love to know what the PCs have heard. So from there, you could actually roll up on your rumors chart, and I think there is a rumors chart in the main book or in the bestiary, and so that could further your adventures. But yeah, this is just a huge book of random encounters, and I love this. This is so cool. So this is very handy, especially for the solo player or for the GM who doesn't like to do too much prep. Now, I also downloaded the Quick Start Guide, and the Quick Start Guide is actually really good. So if you wanted to get a flavor for this game, you can get the Quick Start Guide for free. All you have to do is provide your email address, and I printed out some of the relevant pages that I might need while playing the game. So we have all of our rules that cover our dice mechanics. We have a detailed listing of the different attributes and skills, so you can keep those in mind. Because remember, there are four attributes, and then there are skills associated with those attributes. So we have our VM skills, or Vim skills, I should say, Charm, Metal, Inspire, and Perception. And then our Vigor skills, our Knack skills, and our Know-How skills. We have our page here that covers how to spend XP and what you can spend XP on for when you are leveling up your character. We have a brief description of items and equipment and weapons. This isn't comprehensive at all. There's a lot more to the items and weapons and equipment section in the core rulebook. A little bit about coins and the economy, and then we have our travel and exploration rules, and finally our conflicts and our combat rules. So these sub-pages here that I broke out, I think will be quite handy when playing solo. I'm going to try to keep my games of Land of Eam as self-contained to just the rules, just the stuff given as possible. But there are a couple of additional tools that I will introduce while I'm playing, and possibly some others if I want to experiment with some others. But the main one I think Madeline Hale's Table Fables 2 would be very useful for this game, because it kind of matches that whimsical kind of fairy tale, light-hearted fantasy tone that the Land of Eam is focusing on. So I think Table Fables 2 would be quite handy. I'm also going to use my Dungeon Dive 3D6 Oracle and Bag of Fate, which you can get on itch.io for a couple bucks if you want to help support the channel and get a little thing in return. But this is a basic kind of 3D6 Oracle where you will roll 3 dice. Usually I like to have different colors, but we'll just kind of place them out here. And let's say that we are approaching a fortress, and there are guards here, and we need to kind of survey the land to see if maybe we can sneak into this fortress to steal some MacGuffin that we need to steal. And so are the guards on alert? And we'll do 5, 2, 6. So a 5, are the guards on alert? Yes, but a 2 is for the twist, and if you roll a 1, you have a negative twist, a 6, a positive twist. So if I were to roll, if let's say this was a 6, we would have a positive twist, and then that positive twist would focus on an adversary. So yes, but, so this is pretty good. This would be a pretty good result. The guards are on alert, but I can find a way to sneak past them if I make some kind of skill check. And maybe the guards, because we had a positive twist based on the adversaries, based on the guards, maybe we find an easy way to distract them or something like that. And then this is used with my Bag of Fate, which my Bag of Fate is a bag with tokens. I have tokens that represent boons and tokens that represent banes. And this Bag of Fate, you add 2 whenever you roll a 1 or a 6 on the twist die. And then when you roll doubles on your 3d6 Oracle, you draw one of those out, And if you draw a boon, you can use this as a currency to spend to re-roll a die at any time while you are playing. If you draw a bane, then you keep this as a reminder to make your next die roll more difficult. So you could roll at disadvantage, or you can raise the target number or something like that. So I think that will also help drive this game, drive the narrative play of Land of Eam. I'm also probably going to experiment a little bit with Gustavo Coelho's Little GM emulator. Now this is a printed version that he sent me. I have also printed my own, and can I find it real quick? No, it's somewhere on my messy bookshelves. But you can get this on itch.io, and I have covered this in a little bit of detail when I in my video about oracles. But this is a really great comprehensive oracle that you can use for any kind of solo RPG. So we have things about quests, generating quests, answering yes or no questions. We have here about open questions, so different types of charts where you can roll up keywords in order to help you determine what's going on. We have different types of oracles about NPCs and challenges and difficulty levels, danger rolls, ways to very quickly generate NPCs. Of course, the Land of Eam comes with a really great, I think it's a D100 table on random NPCs, which is really, really cool. But it has a quick dungeon generator and then all kinds of random tables just to help facilitate solo play. So I think these two things, along with my Dungeon Dive 3D6 Oracle and Bag of Fate, will make playing Land of Eam pretty simple. So one of the difficulties when you are playing a RPG solo that isn't made for solo is how to handle a party of characters, because I don't like playing with more than 2 characters really. And when I am playing solo, I usually like to focus on one main character and then possibly a kind of side character or a utility character. Oh yeah, one other thing I am using is I did order a whole bunch of random little wooden pieces, and they have all kinds of different shapes. I ordered these on Etsy, I think. And it was, I don't know, a few bucks for a whole bunch of just random wooden pieces. So we can use those to like mark things on the map or something. Mark points of interest, mark destinations, and so on. But yeah, so when I'm playing a character, when I'm playing a solo RPG, I like to focus on one character and then maybe have a utility character. The really cool thing about Land of Eam is one of the classes is kind of built to be a utility character. And that is the chum. What's the character's full name? The loyal chum. So the character I'm going to focus on, that's going to be my main PC, is a dungeoneer. Dungeoneers are good at exploring and they want to go treasure hunting. And I always like those kinds of characters and those kinds of situations, because the main thing I want to do in this game while I'm playing solo is just explore the world. I talked a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit more in detail how I will handle that. But the Dungeoneer is a really cool character. So we'll go ahead and make a Dungeoneer on this video. And then I'm also going to be joined by a loyal chum. And this will be my kind of like my sidekick. And my sidekick will basically be used just as a utility character to kind of help me out of perilous situations. Now what's really cool about the Dungeoneer is the Dungeoneer also comes with an underling. They come with a little sidekick character. So I kind of have 2 sidekick characters. So I think that I should be able to handle most situations in the game by having that kind of party of 3 with 1 main character and 1 kind of more complex side character and then a very simple side character. So I think I should have most of my bases covered for anything. The underling that joins your Dungeoneer, they can't participate in combat. But then again, combat is not the focus of this game. The focus of this game is on exploration and on discovery. So that's another reason why I think this would work pretty well solo, because oftentimes in RPGs that aren't made for solo play, the most difficult thing to know how to do is scaling combat. But let's go ahead and create our character, our main Dungeoneer. And so here we have our character creation steps. There are 8 different steps. Think about a character concept, browse classes, browse the folk, the different types of races and kin you can be, the ancestries. and then download your character sheet, because the character sheets do have a whole bunch of information on them, especially for your class. And these can all be downloaded. You can even scan the QR code in the book. I love that. It's so thoughtful and useful. It's a great utility. It's, it's function, maybe function over form. I know some people don't like the look of those, but hey, I really like that. I think it's very thoughtful. So choose a class, and then you will choose a class perk. And then you get both of your class 1 abilities. We'll talk about abilities a little later. Abilities, often you have to spend a currency called quest points. And at the beginning of each session, your character replenishes their quest points, and then you can spend those to help augment bad dice rolls, or you can spend those in order to perform your character abilities. And then we assign our modifiers. So there's really no randomization when you are creating a character. So you assign modifiers to your 4 core attributes. You assign a +2, a +1, a +0, and a -1. And then those scores also modify the associated skills that are associated with those attributes. Then you tweak your skills, and we'll go over that in detail. You determine your derived stats from those totals. You select a folk, so you select your kin or your ancestry, and those will give you some skill bonuses or possibly some penalties. You will get a perk and possibly a quirk. You will select a homeland, and your homeland will give you a couple different proficiencies and some starting gear. And then I guess there is one small bit of randomness, and that is when you roll on for 2 random items, 2 mundane items. And then finally, you will roll up on a whole bunch of charts to determine your character's backstory and so on. So let's go ahead and take a look at our Dungeoneer here. Okay, the Dungeoneer. The Dungeoneer is an enterprising adventure seeker, daring to venture into the old tombs and abandoned ruins in search of lost things. Armed with the know-how and most useful gear to succeed in the wild, Dungeoneers are smart enough to realize Eam is dangerous, so it's best to travel in numbers. Play a Dungeoneer if you want to be a daring treasure hunter with tons of resources and an NPC crew. Okay, so one thing is the amount of damage you do is dictated by your class, and damage is called dread in this game. And dread can be both physical and mental damage. Armor can only protect you from physical damage, so you have to keep that in mind. So the Dungeoneer, they will start with 1d8 dread. So I'll go ahead and write that here. So 1d8. So when I do damage, when I attack something, I roll a d8 for my damage. Okay, so now we can assign our skills here, or select a class, assign our modifiers. And so we have a +2, a +1, a +0, and a -1. And those can go into Vim, Vigor, Knack, and Know-How. I think I want my main Dungeoneer to be a little more physically active, physically proactive. So I'm going to give them a +2 to their Vigor. Let's see, a +2 to Vigor. Know-How. Lore Realms, Tinker Wilderness, or should I do a +2 in Know-How so they're better at exploring? Yeah, let's do that. Let's do a +2 in Know-How. I'll do a +1 in Vigor. Now I need to assign my 0 and my -1. Let's do a -1 to Vim. I'm not going to be very charming, let's say. So a -1 to Vim. And so that would mean my knack is a +0. Okay, so there we have all of our stats there, or our attributes, I should say. So the corresponding skills of an attribute also get this modifier. So we would write this number here, but this number will also change as we go. So let's proceed past here. Okay, so now we can tweak our skills. Okay, let's see here. Let's do -1. Let's put everything here. I can always just erase. So -1, -1, +1, +1, +1, +1, 0, 0, 0, 0, and +2, +2, +2, +2. Okay, so now we'll tweak our skills. Subtract a -1 from a +2 skill. Okay, so we have to lower one of these. I'm going to do a -1 from Tinker. So I'll do a -1 there. We'll add those up at the end. So a -1 to Tinker. subtract a -1 from a +1 skill. I am going to subtract 1 from Intimidate. I don't want to be an intimidating dungeoneer. We will add a 1 to a +0 skill. I think I will add a 1 to Searching because I want to be able to search for treasure. And we will add a +1 to a -1 skill, bringing that up. I want to add a +1 to my Perception to bring that up to 0. Okay, so now we determine our stats. Courage and Dread are determined by the class. So we already talked a little bit about Dread. Courage is basically your hit points in this game. And so the Dungeoneer starts with 13 plus your Vim. So my Vim is -1, so I start with 12 Courage, so 12 hit points basically. Attack is equal to your Vigor modifier, so our attack is +1. That's when we roll combat. When we do combat, everything in this game is done with a D12. You will roll, I roll an 8, +1 is 9, and then we would consult our chart here in combat to see what that gives us. And so when we go to our combat chart here, if we were doing melee combat, a 9 is a hit. And then you would apply the results of that hit, which would basically be to roll our Dread. This attack value is also modified by the adversaries, by the enemy's defense. So just keep that in mind. Defense is the inverse of the knack modifier. So if you had a -2, it would be a +2. Mine is 0, so my defense modifier is 0. And quest points equal to 3 plus know-how. My know-how is 2, so my quest points are 5. So every session I will have 5 quest points to spend on modifying die rolls or to spend on using my abilities. And then we have inventory slots is equal to 20 plus might plus vitality. Okay, so 20 plus might is 21 plus vitality is 22. And so I have 22 slots of inventory. Inventory will take, I believe it's from 0 to 3 slots each piece of gear, depending on how cumbersome it is. Okay, so now we need to select a folk, and the folk will also modify some of these. So let's go to our folk here. I know that I want to play a human. I usually like playing humans. Now humans are somewhat rare in this world. So this says that in a world of boggers, boggles, goblins, and wugs, a human sometimes sticks out like a sore thumb. This is not a human-centric fantasy game, fantasy world, and I like that. There just aren't many of them in the Mucklands. Aside from the Felmog Outriders, who originally hail from the far north, most dwell in remote communities and pursue modest lives as farmers and hunters. Though many folk in Eam regard humans as unremarkable, legends tell a different story. One of the Golden Kingdom's gallant heroes and a lost age of wonder and achievement. But even most humans have forgotten this ancient history. That's cool. Maybe I'm kind of trying to discover, maybe this character has returned to the Mucklands to discover, to look for their ancestry, to look for this ancient history that humanity has forgotten about itself. I like that. I kind of like that as a character. Let's see, my size, I'll just be medium. I don't want to be small or big. What will my name be? I think my name will be my typical fantasy name. No, not Cragor. I don't think Cragor. I'm going to be Harlan. I'm going to be my old name, and that is Harlan Peters. I use that name a lot. So Harlan Peters. I am a male, and I am a Dungeoneer. And human. Okay, for our skill modifiers, we get to choose one. We can choose a +1 to Wilderness, a +1 to Vitality, or a +1 to Sneak. I think I will choose a +1 to Wilderness to give me some benefits for when I'm out in the wilds. And then we also have to choose a -1 to Sneak, a -1 to Metal, or a -1 to Realms. I think I'll do a -1 to Sneak. So that puts my Sneak at a -1. So my homelands I can choose. I can choose to be from the Used to Be Forest, the Drippy Downs, the Quagmash, the River Country, Fleabag Country, or Scallywag Strand. I think I will be from the Used to Be Forest. Used to Be Forest. So that will also augment some of this stuff here. Okay, so perks here. We have 3 different perks that we can choose from. You can choose 1, or you can choose 2 and then also take a quirk. I think playing solo, to make your solo character maybe a little more powerful, you may just want to pick 2 perks and ignore the quirks. But we'll play just with 1 perk and see how that goes. So we can be self-taught, we can have stories of old, or we can have true grit. So self-taught is often hailing from remote places. Humans must be well-rounded to survive. Make 2 minus 1 skills 0. Or stories of old. Some humans hold the old stories of heroes in high regard and look to them for inspiration in desperate moments. Once every session, when a PC suffers a disadvantage on a skill roll check, gain +1. That seems like something I might forget to do. Whenever I have an option like that, I always forget. Or true grit. Humans have endured much hardship since the golden days of yore. The PC reduces dread by 1 from fear, mental harm, and exhaustion. I think I'm going to take self-taught, so I can make 2 minus 1 skills 0. And let's see here. I will make my metal 0, so I'll just add a +1 and a +1 to inspire and metal. So I'll remember to do that when we total all of those up. I am not going to take a quirk. But now let's go to our homeland here and look up the used to be forest. So steps here, you choose a homeland, you pick 2 proficiencies, record starting equipment, and the parenthetical number is how many item slots it takes up. And then we roll on 2 random mundane items. So we are in the used to be forest. So this is that PCs from here grew up in a desolate wasteland of cracked earth and tree stumps. The constant sounds of drills and buzzsaws likely woke them each morning. So this used to be forest. It used to be a forest because it's been deforested, the deforestation here, each morning, and put them to sleep each night. They come from hard-working stock, people who toil away in lumber yards, quarries, and mines. So in the land of Eam here, the used to be forest is this area here. As you can see, it's kind of a desolate wasteland here. So people from this region tend to be hardy, and so that makes a lot of kind of environmental sense there. Okay, so we have some proficiencies. Now, proficiencies, what those do is they add a narrative advantage. So when you are doing something that involves one of your proficiencies, you get to roll at advantage. So you will roll 2d12 and take the highest. So we have mining, woodcraft, repair, hunting, and bureaucracy. I think I want to be good at hunting, so that can help me find resources, because finding resources is a valuable part of this game. And I think we'll also take repair, so I can repair gear that I find out in the wilderness, so that will help me be more resourceful. Okay, so now we roll 2 on our mundane items. Let's go to the mundane items list. And it's very cool. It's a is it a D400? I think, or D300. It's a D300 basically. So let's take our D4 there, and then our D100. We have a 3 and 79. So a 3 is 200. So we have 279. So let's turn to 279 and see what we have here for our first piece of random gear. We have a quiver. Okay, the quiver is it full of arrows? I don't know, but we will say that we are wearing a quiver. And the quiver weighs 1. Maybe I'm keeping other things in my quiver. Okay, let's roll again here. Okay, a 2, so 53. And what is a 2? A 2 is 100, so 153. And a gnome hat, so I'm wearing kind of a pointy hat. And that is a 1 also, and that is clothing. Okay, so we have our mundane items. And then we also have our, let's go back to our homelands here. We also have this equipment, and this equipment takes up 8 slots. So I won't write all of this on camera. I'll just let you guys know what I'm starting with. A tinderbox, a bedroll, a canteen, a lantern, normal rations, a saw, a stick of dynamite, and crafting tools. Now, one thing we want to do with our Dungeoneer as well is pick our starting perks. And so we do have an underling. And so my underling, their name is going to be Sammy. And the underling has a +1 in one stat and associated skills, but a -3 in everything else. They have 1 courage and won't participate in combat. If an underling suffers dread, they go on a break for the remainder of the session. Okay, so a +1 in one stat and all associated skills. Let's see here. I don't want my underling to be more charming than me. That would be kind of funny. I think I'm going to give my underling will be sneaky. And so I will check off sneaky here. And so they get a +1 in knack. So that will also give them a +1 in nimbleness, search, sneak, and trickery. And then I also get to choose a piece of starting gear that's unique to the Dungeoneer. I can choose a map that gives me a +1 to travel checks, which will make traveling less dangerous. I can get a metal detector, which gives me a +1 in treasure hunting checks, or delving tools. At session start, the Dungeoneer always has the basic delving gear that doesn't take up an inventory slot, such as ropes, torches, 10-foot poles, shovels, and pickaxes. Oh man, those are all really useful. But I want to be a treasure hunter, so I think I'm going to take a metal detector. Okay. Also on your class sheet here, you also have all of your different abilities. And so when you start at level 1, you get both of these abilities. And the abilities for a Dungeoneer are a dungeon crew and inspire or intimidate check. Once every session, make the crew do something useful. They are especially good for distractions, manual labor, and triggering traps. So I have a little crew. I think I have a little crew of like tiny little mushroom men that follow me around, so I can send them out to do something once per session. And I'm also a reconnoiter. Okay. Realms check. So I would make a realms check, and then once every session, make up a fact or rumor about a place or group located there. It's an instant action. So I can kind of make something cool happen. I can make a discovery happen by using my realms check. And my realms is pretty good at a +2, so that's cool. Now, when I go up to level 2, I have to choose one of these to keep. And then I would get both of my level 2 abilities plus the one level 1 ability that I chose. And that goes all the way up. That's true all the way up to level 10. Okay, let's see. What do we need to do next for our Dungeoneer? I think we've done all of our kind of our numbers thing. So we select a homeland, 2 proficiencies, record all of your equipment, 2 random mundane items, and now we need to develop our character's story. And so there are a whole bunch of really cool charts here. And let me go to 72 here. And let's just kind of randomize everything. So our backstory for our Dungeoneer, it's a D6, a 4. There are many amazing sights to behold in the land of Eam, and I want to see them firsthand. Hey, that's perfect with the kind of game I want to play, where we'll just be exploring this land kind of as a tourist, as an adventuring tourist looking for cool stuff. So I'm just going to write the numbers here instead of writing everything else. I will put number 4 as my backstory. And let's see here, the ideals. What are my ideals? 1. Solve a problem with ingenuity. Okay, so ideals is number 1 here. So if we do something associated with this ideal, we gain experience because we are living out our character's desires and their dreams. Okay, what are my flaws here? 4, to make a new, so I want to make a new rival. Number 4. Maybe I will discover some kind of a rival treasure hunter, and we're competing to find some relic in order to take it back to some wizard or something like that. And what is my personal quest here? 4, to discover the long-lost city. Awesome. Okay, so number 4. So that would be a kind of an ongoing major quest for this campaign, something to really kick things off. And maybe I'm trying to discover some long-lost human city where I can discover a little bit about my ancestry and some of the ancient things that humans participated in. Let's see, relationships. 2. Someone thinks they're the group leader, but it's obviously me. So maybe there's a little bit of a rivalry between me and the loyal chum, even though we are friends. Maybe we compete a little bit, so that's something to keep in mind. And I believe that's it. So that is my character. And so there we have my Harlan Peters Dungeoneer, human Dungeoneer from the Used to Be Forest. We have our Vim, Vigor, Knack, and Know-How with our associated skills and attributes, which will be derived from those. So we might have to modify these depending on how those modify. My proficiencies are hunting and repair. I will write down all of my inventory. And then as far as my Dungeoneer goes, I have the underling named Sammy, who is sneaky, and I am equipped with a metal detector, which will help me find treasure. And then I would also do the same thing for my lucky chum. And the reason why a lucky chum is a really good kind of utility character is because some of their perks. Now I think if the folks over at Land of Eam, if they wanted to develop some custom solo rules for Land of Eam, I think it would be a really good idea for them to make a kind of NPC loyal chum utility character for people to take with them, something that would just give them some bonuses. But here we get to choose our best chum. So my best chum is, of course, Harlan Peters. So Harlan there. And then I get to choose one of these. Lighten the mood, take the hit, or share the load. So lighten the mood, say something funny or kind to heal the best chum for 1d12. Take the hit, suffer dread meant for the best chum, or share the load, suffer the consequences of the best chum's failed check. I'm going to take lighten the mood because it's always good to have a healer when you are playing solo. And also we get to choose a handicraft. Cooking. When the loyal chum cooks a meal, all eaters heal 1d10 instead of 1d6 after a night's rest. Building. Reroll a check when crafting something, except alchemy and cooking. Or alchemy. Everything the loyal chum crafts with alchemy has its usage die increased a step. Let's see here. So that all has to do with crafting, with gathering what you can use the materials, because this game has a ton of materials, mats that you can use to craft all kinds of different things. I think the crafting in this game is pretty interesting, and it's not overly complex, but we have all kinds of different recipes, cooking recipes, different types of alchemical recipes, fishing components, beast components. And so gathering materials is an important part of this game. I think my loyal chum will be good at building, so I can re-roll a check when crafting something. So my loyal chum is good at crafting. And then I'll also, off camera, I will develop my loyal chum character because we don't need to go into that detail again. So that's basically character creation. It's relatively simple. You can just walk through those steps. There's hardly anything randomized, so you really can kind of create the exact kind of character that you want to create. Now let's talk a little bit about how I am thinking of approaching this game solo. And so what I'm going to say is that my character has been out of the Mucklands for some time. I think what I will do is I will roll up a kind of random relic, and I'm going to say that my character was hired by somebody, we'll randomize all of that, to find this relic that was outside of the Mucklands and then return to the Mucklands and deliver that thing. And that will be some kind of MacGuffin. It won't give me any power or anything, but it'll just be a relic that I need to deliver. And we'll roll up kind of a random settlement or something. I would like to see, I think what would be very useful is if we had all of these points of interest on the map and in the campaign book, if we had some really cool random charts to randomize those. So guys, maybe you can create that. I know you probably have all of this stuff in a spreadsheet or something, and just give us a randomized chart of all the settlements so we could very quickly roll up a random settlement somewhere, or very quickly roll up a random point of interest. I think that would be incredibly helpful for coming up with quests on the fly and also coming up with stuff for the solo player. But I'm going to come into the land from the south here, from the water, and I will probably land at one of the major kind of settlements here along the coast. So we have Hornswoggle Port, Muckland Harbor, the Mushmash, Anchor Bottom, or Ligerhead Beach. And so those will be my point of entrance into this land, and then I will have to make my way north to deliver that item. And along the way, I know this land because I'm from here. I have this map. This is the map that my character has. And so I know where these points of interest are. And in addition to finishing my quest to deliver the MacGuffin, one of the things I want to do is discover the ancient history of humanity in this world. And also, just as a touring adventurer, I want to discover as much as possible. So I'm going to use the campaign book here as kind of a travel guide. And so I know where these places are because I have a map. And when I get there, I will just turn to the page here inside the guide and kind of go through it as a travel guide. And, you know, each of these points of interest, each of these locations has NPCs that are there. You know, maybe they're out exploring, so maybe they're not home at the moment, but we can also roll up random NPCs. Each of these locations also has quests, and there are a whole bunch of different quest charts for each location. And so those would be randomized, and that's when you might need something to help randomize an adventure site or a dungeon or something like that. But I just kind of want to experience, I want to discover the stuff that the creators have already created, because I think it sounds like so much fun and it's so inviting and it's such a wonderful spirit of adventure. And so I just want to participate in that. So playing a game of Land of Eam for me solo won't be so much in just random things happening. It will be me going to these locations and experiencing them. And because this game doesn't focus on combat, you gain XP by visiting different points of interest and by discovering new creatures and discovering interesting things and interesting people. And so I think we'll do one more video on this. We'll do some gameplay. We'll start some gameplay. I would like to have this be an ongoing series because I think I'm going to have a lot of fun playing the game in the way I'm going to play it. But that really will be determined by the reception of this video and the next video. Whenever I do a long series, views always tend to fall off in each subsequent episode. And so if you want to see something more like this and you want to help me not be at the whim of the YouTube algorithm or views on YouTube, you can always help me by supporting me on Patreon and then saying, hey, you know what? I like this. I want to see more of it. And so if more people on the Dungeon Dive Patreon want to see more of this, then that's what I will provide. And I'm looking forward to playing this game a heck of a lot more. So, all right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video focused on character creation and also that quick look at the very, very handy book of random encounters for the Land of Eam. We will talk to you later. Bye-bye.